Welcome to the final presentation for Group 4 for the Renaissance Manager course. Group 4 is Mark Bradley, Mark Dieterle, Sarah Watson, and Daniel Parks. What we'll be going over today is a team introduction, a project overview, some outcomes from our project, key takeaways, reflections on the design thinking experience, and then our ideas for implementation in the workplace.
The central theme of the information offered on Aging in Place is the loss of independence in the advanced age, and the impact of this loss on style and quality of living. A primary trend among those who are aging in their homes is an effort to maintain whatever level of independence is possible for as long as possible. Common methods include making changes to the home, such as moving the bed to the ground floor, adding extra railings to the stairwells, and putting daily necessities like their clothing in areas that a person with limited mobility can reach without aid. Some elderly also use wheelchairs, walkers, and other aids of mobility to allow themselves to move around their homes on their own. In general, a person's world tends to shrink with decreased range of independence. Those with family members nearby to provide assistance can get out of their homes to shop or to visit friends from time to time, but those who do not tend to live in isolation. If they do not have family visiting, they experience the disappearance of their social lives. The trends and emotional impact on aging people include increased fear and loneliness among those with limited support, while those with family assistance tend to be more upbeat. However, even the optimists demonstrate concern about leaving burdens for their loved ones after they die and make an effort to provide for their own funeral arrangements.
After all 4 of our interviews were conducted, we developed a composite persona. Bart is a 67-year-old married retired professional living in a house. He has 2 children and 4 grandchildren who live a distance away. Bart retired from work 2 years ago, and he is comfortable in his 2-story house with a basement. However, he finds going up and down the stairs is becoming more and more difficult. He lives in a close-knit community and has many friends, family, and support from his fellow church members and former co-workers that he sees often. Bart is very social and has a lot of people in his life. He fears placing a burden on family and friends and growing medical concerns. Bart attends church weekly. He enjoys fishing and travels as often as possible, mostly to visit distant family. Bart suffers from arthritis and diabetes. His wife has a heart condition. He ensures that he and his wife conduct regular doctor visits and taking their medication. Bart appreciates that technology has benefits, such as keeping in touch with loved ones, managing finances online, and being able to contact his doctor, but he has concerns about not being very tech savvy, and he does not know how to fix technological problems when they occur. Bart feels he needs to stay organized since he has become more and more forgetful. At times, it can be difficult to open pill bottles. He maintains separate pill organizers for his wife and himself for weekly distribution. He and his wife have a small pension, 401k, and Social Security that meets their basic needs. Medication bills are high for his spouse's heart medication. However, Bart ensures that she gets the medication that she needs. Bart and his wife consider themselves lucky that they were able to save a significant amount of money for retirement. Key findings from combined interviews are that the interviews valued family, health, and being financially secured. The interviewees were concerned about being alone or being able to see family. They also saw the necessity and importance of medications and access to quality medical health care. There was a drive to maintain a level of independence. And they understand the reality of aging and the impact on physical limitations. There was a need to feel independent, to feel like they are part of the community or social circle, and feel security that their medical needs will be taken care of for the future. During our interviews, we found that the interviewees were worried about letting other people down with their health during aging. From our interviews, building a composite persona, and identifying the needs and insights, we were able to come up with several point of view statements. Ultimately, our final POV statement of an aging person needs a way to manage his affairs with confidence and efficiency because he wants to devote their time and energy to enjoying friends, families, and hobby.
For example, Some of the feedback that we received led to more discussions and an almost free-form process of brainstorming based on the key findings, which led instantly to more how might we suggestions among group members. The feedback included creating a customizable dashboard for users to pin frequent items onto the front of the page, widgets that can be placed onto the front web page so that users can adapt the page as needed as conditions change, adaptability where the seniors can hand over bits of responsibility through changeable settings and keeping certain functions private before slowly giving access for their needs to their caregivers and relatives as the level of care changes. Also, adaptability of external peripheral devices that will tie into the main system and provide emergent readings to a service or tracking vital health readings. Editing of the website that includes some formatting of words and the addition of other links. As part of the sign-up process, possibly provide a standalone tablet or computer for the sole use of this product. A button that goes to a service that will assist the elderly with their problems. With regard to the whole design thinking process consisting of the steps discover, define, create, and evaluate, we feel that at this point we can take a more iterative approach in the define stage. We found even more ideas to incorporate into the current prototype. We feel that we could also loop back into another session of brainstorming and refine our ideas, then to create another prototype and evaluate the stages again. Our next step would include reformatting our web page to incorporate the suggestions from our users regarding the layout and language, keeping in mind that we want the purpose of the site to be clear to another round of testers. From there, we would add more interactivity by creating the pages we described that would contain informational links to enable users to get a better idea of how to navigate through the site. We know that the site is something that our test audience would use, so we'd want to create ways to understand how they would use it and what features they would or would not use. An important how might we at this stage might be how might we ensure that we are not missing anything without our prototype becoming cluttered or cumbersome to the user. Another important determination would be when to produce the prototypes. This slide is a screenshot of our Stormboard collaboration for the brainstorming phase of the project.
We decided to use Stormboard as our method of posting ideas and concepts for our force ranking brainstorm technique. Each team member has their own access, and we contributed by posting ideas quickly and with free-form rapid-fire posting available in Stormboard. We followed closely the suggested rules of no prejudgments. Any idea is a good idea, quantity is a good thing, visual cues are good. Each had his or her post-it so we could have individual or build on other ideas, and all approaches to the how might we statements were encouraged. The challenge was to determine among a large quantity of ideas which to drop and which to keep. We used the voting function in Stormboard to vote on each other's ideas. The rule was that you could not vote for your own ideas during the first pass. The ideas were then force ranked on a number of votes, and some ideas were grouped during discussion prior to a second round of voting, in which we could vote on our own. Again, the ideas were ranked based on a number of votes and then discussed for final decision. The report out function was useful in that we were able to collect our ideas from a force ranking perspective and see which ones we could move into a more active discussion. We decided to build a website that will serve as a simple user interface for a complex system to enable seniors to manage personal, medical, and financial responsibilities. The website will permit members to allow approved family members to log in and manage services on their behalf, including options to notify designated family members of various actions. The website will be simple to navigate and accessible via mobile apps that adapt to various devices to allow access whether in the home or away. Possible devices include a necklace-type device for calling emergent requests or a Fitbit-style device that will send vitals to a monitoring service. Abnormal readings, definable through the website, will prompt emergency services to the location of the device. These devices could also include medication reminder alerts. The website will allow tracking of financial information and payment of bills in a convenient one-stop shop site. A training section will teach elderly members simple usage of common modern technology devices. There will be a section on the website that will connect members to local services. The services that members can request will be rides to and from various places, housekeeping services, lawn services, grocery and pharmacy pickup, and food delivery. All services and service providers will be verified and thoroughly vetted by the company to ensure safe and reliable service for the members. Each member will be able to rate service providers. Service providers will be required to keep a minimum rating to continue working with Rest Easy Senior Care.
I think the biggest surprise to me when I was interviewing Mary Watson was that when we talked about the possibility of having someone come into her home with her husband, or if she and her husband had to move into a nursing home or assisted living, was that they wouldn't just be giving up their independence, they would be giving up their privacy. It didn't really occur to me before, but if you're dependent on another person, you have to give up your privacy for them to help take care of you. And that can be really uncomfortable and even scary to let someone see what usually is a private situation, your home life.
The problem that you end up with is a lot harder and a lot more complicated than the problem that you set out to solve. And that's what I found when talking to Gary Coleman as well. Some feedback is great for developing a POV, and some kind of leads you in a different direction, down a different path. It's very easily to get emotionally tied to a prototype. You have to be prepared for harsh feedback. Like, what did I expect out of the process? I expected for fewer surprises, and what surprised me was the fact that Gary had more things that were out of his control that affected his quality of life into his later age. What corrections did I have to make along the way? My interview had to shift the focus toward our persona rather than what I initially thought the problem would be, and what worked and what didn't work. I think we were pressed for time when we came up with our prototype. I think given more time, we could have come up with a lot more interesting of a prototype that would have focused more on the user's needs.
The entire design thinking experience has been very enlightening to me by providing me with different tools that I am used to dealing with on solving issues. One of the key takeaways that I gathered during the discover phase is to further explore and conduct research first to familiarize the challenges that are intended to be solved for. During the design phase, I found that developing the empathy maps were key to narrowing down the key findings gathered from the interviews and provided the insights and needs from our users that further directed us towards an accurate point of view statement on our target audience. My favorite exercise was during the create phase and the brainstorming and ranking. This allowed our creative thoughts to at least be heard and discussed. Once we had our prototype built and we were testing it with the target users, the thought of a perfect product in our minds became apparent that we may have been going down the wrong path and may have to scrap the entire project to start over or make small adjustments within the design thinking process to get back towards what our end users ultimately needed. I expected that the process was going to be similar to other problem-solving tools that I had performed in the past, such as Six Sigma or the 5 Whys to define the problem. However, design thinking allowed me to learn different tools than I was previously familiar with using. What surprised me was the ability to move from one phase of the process to any other, depending on feedback and the successes or failures. Many other methods that I've used previously typically dealt with moving in one direction until all the options were exhausted. The idea that we had originally discussed during the create phase was a bit overambitious. We had discussed a multi-platform technological process with many different levels of services, which ultimately would be an ideal final product. However, the feedback from the users during the prototype testing reeled our group back to making small wins by going for the goal the first time up. Differently, I had felt if we had conducted more interviews in the beginning, we may have narrowed down our point of view statement to a distinct challenge to address. I feel there is a benefit from the idea of the product to more than just the elderly. In my industry, the workers are often in remote locations and physically demanding and harsh environments. Sensory readings for workers being monitored from the bridge of a vessel could show potential stress or injury, and GPS location of a worker that was injured or fallen overboard could speed recovery in adverse situations.
My reflections on design thinking really hinged around finding out that what I thought was a good process that I've been using in the past certainly could always be improved. And by going through this process, I learned a lot. In the discover phase, it points to the fact that interview questions are very important. Sometimes we ask too many closed probe questions instead of the how and why questions that we should. And listening without a bias is very critical. Sometimes we have preconceived notions as to what the person is saying when we're not actually listening to what they are saying. In the define area, there's a huge temptation to define your own perspective and not the subject's. You interpret what you think that their problem is rather than actually listening to them enumerate and iterate their own problem. In the create stage, it's really hard not to jump to a solution that you see without looking at all the possibilities. I think we as human beings tend to make this a natural type of an action. We always want to get to the end of the story quickly. In the evaluate stage, one of the things that I found was useful was the more subjects we have actually in a sample to review with a lot of extra comments that go along the way, you can harvest a bunch of new ideas if you re-prototype and come up with even better solutions. The design thinking process offers another set of tools in our toolboxes to tackle business challenges, or we should say, improve outcomes while spreading risk. For instance, how might we look differently at product launches into traditionally segmented market channels, applying design thinking into responding to rapidly changing competitive and consumer demands? How do we fail a little if we misjudge? How might we reduce the development cycle time by applying little bets thinking into taking micro approaches to solve tough questions? Can we get to market faster to address changes in demand quicker with more innovative solutions? How might we engage other more traditional management members into our newly learned methods of discovery, defining, creating, and evaluating problems? How can we find a mentor who will sign on to this new approach? How might we immediately begin to experiment with a small, less wicked problem in real practice, allowing us to get a couple of low-risk, easier wins and continue practice, and to gain supporters and additional proselytes where we work?
We explored many different ideas for implementing this in the workplace. The first idea that we had was giving employees ownership of the problem. Develop an environment where employee problem solving is encouraged. Employees will be more likely to innovate and problem solve in areas where they feel engaged with the problem. So empower employees to see the workplace as an extension of that space and give them the confidence they need to bring new ideas to the table. The second thing is you always remember to make the process and innovation fun. Promote opportunities for employees to try new and fun things in the workplace, as well as offering rewards and incentives for innovative activities outside of the workplace. Keep encouraging experimentation, creativity, and exploration. Last but not least is encouraging creativity. Encouraging employees to think outside the box. Reward good ideas even if they fail. Reward the effort. Give your company something that differentiates it from others.